Hello once again. Gnostics, Gnostic Catharism versus science versus religion. Cathar Love 149. Well, actually, as a Gnostic Cathar, I shouldn't say versus, because versus means against, and really we're not against anything. People can be what they want to believe, can be what they want to be, believe what they want to believe, and it's called democracy, freedom of speech, freedom of thought. In fact, that's what that's the whole essence of Gnostic Catharism, Gnosticism. Basically, a Cathar is a Gnostic, except with extra dimensions, and that extra dimension is that we believe in unconditional and undifferentiated love for everybody, everything, everywhere. Now, to be a Gnostic, you don't need that. A Gnostic simply means that you take complete responsibility, you take charge of your own mind, body and soul, and you don't need somebody, a mediator between you and the divine. So there is a difference. So I suppose you can say all Cathars are Gnostics, but not all Gnostics are necessarily Cathars. But I, for myself primarily, but also in speaking to anyone else, having a reasonable discourse, argument if you like, debate with a reasonable person, not unreasonable, such as fundamentalists, because you can't go beyond their fundamentalism, whether it's Islam, Christianity or Judaism. So they're out of the picture. But otherwise, if one wishes to have just talk with somebody who you consider a person of reason, that you want to discuss these subjects, because who we are, what we are, where we're going to, and is there an afterlife, these are very important questions. In fact, they're fundamental to life. Well, they're fundamental to how you live your life and one's beliefs. So reducing it down to the very minimum, I suppose we could put people in 4 different groups, 4 different camps. We've got those who believe in a religion, that's any religion, and which means believing in a God, a deity. Another group is those who are atheists and don't believe in any deity, in any God. Three, Gnostics, who believe in a deity, but it's not a personal God, it's an unknown God. And also the fact this is not our only life, reincarnation in other words. And the last group are those, and there's quite a few, who have no interest in any of the previous 3. Their interest lies in often in materialism, sport, politics, sex, gambling. The more sensory occupations. Now, whichever group one belongs to, and I'm not saying they're either right or wrong, there just seems to be the 4 categories that people fall into. those that fall into the first group, religious, well, all religions commence with certainly a spokesperson or a prophet or someone who is the instigator and have their set of doctrines, their truths, which one needs to belong to, which one needs to believe in to belong to that particular religion. And the great faiths, they believe in God, but they also believe in the personal God. God resembles us. Often people tend to think of him as an elderly man. Why not a woman? I don't know. With a beard. Well, it could be an elderly woman with a beard. I don't know. But anyway, it's a personal God. In other words, it's a recognisable God. And the other thing is, and which defines them, or certainly the great faiths, the so-called great faiths, the Islam, Judaism and Christianity, they believe that one has only one life, a single life, which, by the way, we didn't ask for, and we didn't have a chance to choose, because if we did, a lot of us, not myself thankfully, but certainly a lot of people would have chosen to have a better life with a little bit more money, a little bit more education, a little bit more of everything. Because most people in the world, who are born in the world, are born into a pretty miserable life. The good life is only for the very few. They are diametrically opposed to atheists, but the one thing, of course, atheists do not believe in God. The very term atheism defines that. But the one thing they have in common, and I believe is the Achilles heel to both of them, is the fact that they only believe in having one life. With Christians, with the great faiths, they believe that when one dies, one has eternal life, but that eternity will be spent in either heaven or hell. You'll be saved or you'll be damned. So that one life continues on in the afterlife. With the atheist, when that one life is gone, that's it. Ain't no more. And so at least they avoid either damnation or salvation. But they're still stuck with the one life preposition. Now this may not be all atheists, but the very fact that you're an atheist pretty much defines that you believe in the one life. So this is the one thing that the great faiths and atheists have in common. Let's get rid of the last one first, next. And that, just before I start, I remember this Achilles heel. And they asked this a school kid, and they asked him about Achilles, and this kid, remembering his Greek his Greek history, he put it this way. He said Achilles was a great fighter, and he was protected by his mother because she held him by the heel, Achilles' heel, held Achilles by the heel when she put him in the river Styx, and so he took him out, he stunk, but in actual fact it was the river Styx. And just as an aside, doesn't mean anything, but so that was the reason for Achilles being invulnerable. He only had his Achilles heel, and hence the story. So that the fourth group, well, they're people who, which I didn't mention, there's people who are just brought up. There's just simply no religion in the family. And talking of families, one of the greatest, probably one of the largest family of people in the world is the Chinese. And in mainland China, with Mao Zedong Religion was just swept out as the opiate of the masses. And so much Chinese, even today, religion doesn't come into their lives. There are those who go overseas and some of them seek out religion, but I'm involved with quite a few Chinese, including my partner, and religion just doesn't come into it. They can live moral, excellent lives, full lives, highly moral. They have their share of modesty, the same as anybody else. They have the good, the bad and the ugly, and most live purely ethical and humane lives without any necessity for religion. So when people say, oh, we need religion to be moral, to be ethics, well, so virtually, I'd say the whole Chinese nation, I'm going to say, what, 85% of the Chinese nation managed to get by and live ethical lives, humane lives, caring lives, kind people, without the necessity of religion. So that gives a lie to that particular point of view. But there are a lot of people who literally sport, for whatever reason, they're not interested in religion, but they're vitally interested in sport. For other people, it's politics. Politics is all consuming. For many people, sex and all aspects of sex takes up a very, very important aspect of their lives. Sport, what else do we have? And just plain materialism, amassing as much wealth and as many goodies as we possibly can, surrounding ourselves by all our materialistic world that occupies people's lives and sometimes all their lives. So there's that group, and to them, atheism, religion doesn't really come into their lives, and they're not interested. So they're a separate group. Now the other group, the third group, is my mob, my lot, the Gnostic lot, and in my particular case, Gnostic Cathar. And the thing that separates us from our philosophy, belief system, which is not a religion, it's just a way of life, a philosophy of living life, is the belief in reincarnation. This life is one of many lives. For most of us, we've already had quite a few, and we've still got quite a few to come. And it's a very reassuring philosophy. Who knows the actual idea behind it, but certainly it's obvious to me that for one to gain knowledge in all aspects of existence, the good, the bad, the ugly, the sad, the joyful, to experience all those things, it's just not physically possible in one life. So we need many lives in order to know, to experience, and to grow. And to grow as in wisdom, ethically, humanely, so that we can love more at an unconditional basis. Now, in fact, this unconditional doesn't mean to say that I have this unconditional love for you, but at the same time, I don't necessarily like the way you go about your life. In fact, if I have a choice, I don't even want to walk on the same street as you. But because of the divinity within you and respecting your humanity, I have this love for this aspect of you. So we don't have to go up, throw our arms around and hug and kiss anybody. We don't have to be lovey-dovey in that respect. But we help who we can help when we can help, and assist those who we can assist. So it's actions that we prove our love, and that's also very much for the environment. If we don't love our planet and save our planet, we won't have a planet. So the one defining thing that separates Gnosticism now, not all Gnostics necessarily believe in reincarnation, although I find it difficult for a person not to be for a person to be a Gnostic and not believe in reincarnation. But the thing about that we have going for us is, in this age of information and disinformation, baloney, truths, half-truths, reality, actuality, all this is laid out for us by Mr. Google and others. And it's there, but it's YouTube, it's there. And this we're talking about reasonable people with reasonable argument if you give them reasonable evidence and that's presented to you. Well, if one goes to YouTube and one would in the search area in the browser, you put reincarnation or reincarnation experiences as a heading, as a search title, hit enter. The number of cases presented where people give their past life experiences, and if you go through them, it's just overwhelming. And to a reasonable person, there's an awful lot of proof out there. Two I'd like to bring up, and that is Dr. Ian Stevenson. I have his book, and he spent the latter part of his life researching, invariably they were children, anywhere in the world. Any child who was aware of a past life experience, and he went there, investigated and got all the facts. And sometimes the facts weren't great, but other times the factual evidence was just too vast, too accurate, and too specific to say there couldn't be anything else other than reincarnation, although he doesn't say it's reincarnation, although he can't give any other explanation for it. He has a colleague, since he's passed away, one of his colleagues. I've forgotten his name. He has carried on. But Dr. Stevenson had something like 3,000 cases and more, and his colleague's been carrying on. He's got like 2,500 cases. So these are recorded, and these people have a specific set of parameters, of circumstances that these must fit into in order for them to be accepted as a case history. I'm not going to go on one after another, but I'd like to put forward one other case. The information of these ones I'll put up for you, so you can check on them if you wish. But this one is young James Leininger, Leininger, and his parents, Methodists, practicing Methodists, neither believed in reincarnation. But their son, from the age of 2, used to have nightmares, and they're always the same thing. Getting to the stage he'd have 4 or 5 nightmares a week. It was always the same thing. He was a pilot in a plane being burnt down. It got to the stage where they just had to do something about it. And also the child was obsessed with anything to do with planes. And and also his knowledge of planes. His mother bought him a small fighter. It was a Corsair. And when he gave it to her 3-year-old child, he said, "Oh, it's a Corsair." She said, "Yes, that's right." And she said, "It's got a bomb underneath it." He said, "That's not a bomb." He said, "That's a drop tank." And what it was these disposable petrol tanks, which they could go for extended missions, and they could drop it off. And so they were called drop tanks. Now, his mother never heard of that. So he came out with specific information like this. And as a 3-year-old, they'd take him to an exhibition where there were planes, and he would literally go over a plane as if he was doing a pre-flight check, checking the wheels, checking this, checking that. So they were getting somewhat desperate because of their child. He was having these nightmares. So they spoke to this woman who had she had experience with past life regression, and so she said, "Look, why not, rather than worry about it, just ask him more about his experiences, so let him explain himself." And they just encourage him to talk about his experiences. So when they did that, they just asked the son James to talk more about their experiences, and he did. Anyway, he explained that he was a pilot. He was hit by a gunfire, and his father was looking through a book about Iwo Jima, and he pointed to this map, 3-year-old, said, "That's where I was shot down over there." And his father said, "Well, how were you shot down? Who shot you?" He said, "The Japanese!" As if, "Stupid, don't you understand there was the Japanese fighting there?" So then the mother, she realised this was reincarnation, but the father said, "No, there's got to be some other explanation for it." But what he did do, responsibly, he started researching it. And he asked his son, what ship were you on? He said, the Natoma. Then he found out there was an aircraft carrier called a Natoma. And on the 15th of March 1945, there was a Corsair shot down over Iwo Jima. And the son's name was also James, and both their names were James. And he was shot down by Japanese ground fire. But what they did do was, another pilot who was flying with him that day and saw him get hit, he was there, and he could verify the facts about James. And not only that, James, the original James, the pilot, his sister was still alive, and when they contacted each other and he gave her the facts, and she said, "Well, look, I believe because only my brother would know those things that we're talking about." So why I'm elaborating on this particular one rather than others, and there's others just as detailed, is for a reasonable human being with one's fair share of intelligence and with an open mind, it's very hard to come with any other explanation than reincarnation. And one particular guy they had on, he said, their parents obviously been talking about planes, and the kids picked up on this, and it's gone in there, and he gave the explanation this way, and when the father's talking, and the child's taking cues from the father. What a lot of malarkey! And this person's supposed to be a professor of something. Give me a break. But the plain fact is, the parents said, "Look, we knew nothing about planes or Corsairs, so we couldn't have given the information. And who's going to give that type of information to a 2-year-old child, a 3-year-old child? And what's the purpose?" Anyway, so the idiot of that program was the specialist who refuses to accept plain, simple, factual information. So this is the whole basis of Gnosticism. Cathar Gnosticism is the fact that we will take information from anywhere. It's mystic, spiritual, scientific. The more scientific it is, the better. We take that information on board, we analyse it, we make a decision, and we accept it. Or we accept it until better proof comes along. But we're not stuck in in science with only one life and we'll pigeonhole ourselves into a corner. There's no point in taking much from religion, because religion simply, the facts are made up. I mean, we have this wonderful, wonderful thing, this most amazing thing in the world today, doing so much good and occasionally harm, like creating terrible bombs and so forth, weapons of war. But in the main, science is there for the good of mankind. And science, not only that, science is happy to say, we don't know about this yet. We're investigating it, but as about that, we don't know. There's a certain humility with scientists as well. Yes, we've pretty much proven this, but that we're still working on. And they've got facts, experimentation, whatever, measurements for proof. Religion, on the other hand, oh no, here it is. It's a book. Who wrote the book? Someone wrote the book. It's made up. Now, don't get me wrong. I know religious people, and their religion to them is very near and very dear and very necessary in their lives, because religion is, for religion, it's an organisation that in many cases, not all, often, provided you agree with what they're saying, they will take you in and look after you. But they don't like you, any dissent or any contradiction to their beliefs. Otherwise, quite often, you're on the outer. So it's a type of conditional love. Join us and we'll look after you. Disagree with us and you're on your own. Our way or the highway, mate. So, keeping things simplistically, we have religion, it's faith-based, man-made, although it came from a higher, they claim that it came from a higher source. We have, and they believe in one life. That's it. We've got this one life. Then salvation or damnation. 2, we have science. Science, and most scientists go along, and those who promote the scientific thing stick with the one life situation, and that's it. When you're dead, you're dead, and that's bye-bye to all that. Next, we have the Gnostics, and the Gnostics say, no, this is one of many, many lives, and at some particular point, when we get self-realization or enlightenment or whatever you want to call it, perfection of self, we will get off the wheel of reincarnation. But there's a world of spirit. And the big thing is, we think for ourselves and we take responsibility and we listen to everybody, but after that it's our own voice. And then we've got the other 4th, who basically are not interested in that. They've got other interests in life, and so they'll let the religious and the atheists and the Gnostics, they're not really interested in those things. They've got the things that they're interested in, and that's it. So, keeping things simple, here are the different things without just putting it down simply. But the plain fact is, this is the way it is, this is the world we have, and we should be able to talk about these things in a civilized manner and accept what another's belief is, irrespective of what it is, provided that belief is not doing us, the community, or the environment harm. If it is, well then it's up to us in whatever way we can to do something about that, because we need not just our own health, we also need the health of the planet. Otherwise, it's it's the end for all of us. Bye for now. Chat soon. Bye.